Good luck. You'll be fine. And welcome back. I'm Mike with the Turntable Teachers, and class is back in session here for another guest speaker episode at Nowhere Studios. This is our second one. Obviously, if you guys missed the first one with Lucas, make sure you go check that out. And I'm here with another special. Lucas, he's the man. And this man knows Lucas very well. I'm sure Lucas will come back up in conversation at some point. But I want to obviously get to know this man right here next to me. This is the one and only Uche Malik, everybody. And welcome, Uche, to the show. Man, it's so great to have you. How are you? How's things?
Things are going great. I feel good. I feel excited.
Yeah.
I just feel very excited.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we just brought up Lucas, and that's where I first came on to you because you were a part of his show at the Rockwell with Timmy and Lazy and Fabi and PS Jovi, and you were somebody that I wasn't too familiar with until that show, and so it was really great to see you perform and see your energy. I would definitely want to talk a lot about you as a performer because you are definitely electric on the stage, man, for sure.
Thank you.
But so where I want to start, though, is we're going to start with the first segment of our show, which is the objective. So we get to know a little bit about you and sort of where you're from and some background and how you got into music. And, so that's really where I want to start. So you have a very interesting background, very worldly background, I would say. So talk to me a little bit about, did you grow up in Nigeria, or is your family just from Nigeria? I know you spent a little time also in the UK, and before you settled in Boston. So talk to me a little bit about kind of your journey. How did you get to Massachusetts? Just want to hear about that.
So it was kind of like always there. So I personally was born in the U.S. I was born in Boston, but then we went back to Nigeria.
Oh, nice.
So then obviously I spent some time there, went to school, all that. Then transitioned to the UK for it wasn't that long, but long enough for me to absorb the environment, and then we came back here. And then now currently it's just me going back and forth between Boston and Nigeria.
Oh wow! So you're back in Nigeria often, or
so I wasn't back. I'd say in the last year or so, mainly just because of COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
It was tough, but I think I'm going back this year. Next year, obviously, it's a guarantee. So now I'm back to my rotation.
Cool. That's awesome. So for you, traveling and being back and forth between here and Nigeria and spending a little time in the UK, how do you think that sort of influenced you musically?
I think it influenced me extremely because I was introduced to so many different sounds. Obviously in Nigeria, we have our traditional music, and then we have our Afrobeats, our high life, but then getting that little flavor of the UK, I just learned about drill, grime, garage.
Yeah, that's huge over in the UK
I was
right now.
Whoa, this is a whole different spectrum. And then obviously in the US, we know about our classic rap, hip hop, pop, R&B, country music, rock. So it was good to get a taste of everything and see how everybody does things differently, but at the same time to see how everybody does things similarly.
For sure, for sure. And you primarily, I would say you have a really interesting mix of Afrobeat, pop, but also a little bit of hip hop, and so you kind of bridge all those things together.
Exactly.
I love just the energy that you had on stage, and going back, and then I obviously backlogged and listened to all your discography after that, and I was super impressed with the sound that you're creating. I think, of course, if anyone listening, don't leave yet after the obviously after the show, make sure you go check out some of Uche's music. I'm sure we'll play a song or two throughout this show. I have one in particular I definitely want to talk to this man about, but for sure, man, I think Afrobeat is one of those genres that's really starting to gain some traction. For you, what is how do you sort of want to represent yourself in the Afrobeat sort of scene? Because I know I feel like, and I wrote about this when I did the write-up for you guys, that I felt like you were a name that especially in Massachusetts, I don't think there's a lot of Afrobeat artists that I'm aware of, or maybe I'm just not aware of like the actual scene we have here, but you were somebody that I feel like is not only doing it, but doing it in a sort of innovative and very tasteful way. So I'm just curious for you, like, you know, is that something that you pride yourself on in, you know, being really a face of Afrobeat out, not only out here, but also maybe nationally and even and getting into like the bigger world scene as well?
Yeah. I think I'm doing a great job.
I think you are too.
I think I don't even know how to like truly explain it because it just happened. I think I like to call myself the bridge because I'm the person that I'm still very African, yet I'm so, you know, I don't want to say the word American, but very, you know, American.
Well, you grew up here, right? So, but you still have those roots. You
Exactly,
know? Yeah.
exactly. But I think I try to just basically introduce everybody like, hey, I'm a best of both worlds.
Right.
Like, I feel like you can be comfortable with me. And with that comfortability, I can introduce new things to you. But like, I know growing up, it was like, okay, Uche's too Bush or Uche's too American. But over the times, I found a way to really just say like, nah, we can all be cool. Like with friends that aren't African, I'm able to, you know, give them small details about Nigeria and small details in a way that they can, you know, end up learning more about the culture.
For sure, for sure. And I thought that was such a good part of your performance that I was there for and witnessing, because you got on stage and you started pretty much. As a teacher, I loved it because you got on and you were teaching the crowd about your single Rizza, and you were talking about how like sort of the meaning behind it, and sort of giving us like some perspective on the actual not only culture but like, you know, obviously just I guess culture is the best word I can describe it. So for the song, and maybe we'll play it in this, if you don't mind, play a little clip of it for the people. Absolutely. Before we play it though, talk to me a little bit about, or tell our audience about like, you know, what that means, and like, and what is that something also, and a follow-up question, is that also something for you when you perform? Is that something you feel like, not an obligation, but is it something you want to do to like share with the crowd? Not only just, hey, like this is, you know, my music and who I am as an artist, but this is like to also share some of that Nigerian culture with people that might not be as familiar. Yeah.
So for Rizza, in Nigeria, it can mean two different things. So either A, it could mean literally weed. I don't smoke, so I never, so I don't really use that terminology. But again, Rizza could be just like that vibe, that you're that guy, you're that lady who can't be stopped. It's just confidence. It's an aura that carries throughout. So I think at the show, I used the example like, okay, cool. Let's say we're at a club and you see somebody fine, and you start to doubt yourself, saying, I can't go over there and talk to her. Your friend would basically tell like, no, you know who you are. Like, look at you. You could do that. So then he basically just passed you to Rizza. He reminded that, you know, you're that person, and it gives you back that confidence. It's like, you know what, cool, you're right. So that's how I used Rizza.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say I feel obligated to, but I'm always open to share, because at the end of the day, I love being, I don't want to use the word personal, but I love, you know, kind of sharing a connection with my audience.
Definitely.
I feel like I'm making music mainly because I want people to enjoy themselves, and also use my music to relate. If you feel sad, I have a song for you to listen to when you're sad. If you feel happy, I have a song for that. If you feel mad, I have a song for that. Where I feel like we can build this connection where it's like, if I can explain to you what the song means, you can relate to it a lot better, and then we can, you know, be comfortable.
And I love the idea, like just the power of music in that way, right? Like where you can use it as a tool to relate to each other, even if our backgrounds aren't similar or at all, you know what I mean? And I think that there's those human feelings that we all still feel, like you're talking about at the end of the day, like no matter where you're from, or you know where you come from, it's like we all feel a lot of those feelings. I mean, obviously on different levels, but there is a lot of relatability that can come from music in that way. No, I just thought your approach was so awesome too. You just had this great like aura about you and charisma. And before the song started, I remember you just going like, "All right, everybody, like this is how the chorus goes. I need everybody to say it with me when it comes. Like, pass me the Rizza." Like I'm blowing out your speakers. I mean, I am not doing it justice. We might as well give it a little spin here. This is Uche Malik's latest song that he has just dropped called Rizza. We'll play a little clip of it, and we will be right back.
Pass me the
I love how it
reason.
sounds.
Pass me the reason. Kelly, don't give me your reason. Like I'm not knocking on your speakers. She call me Afro singer, Niger jigger. She don't go low when the boy no fiesta. She did my phone when the boy no fiesta. You no respond, but today you want to ginger me. Be like say you want to yahoo me. Money don't they come, bottle don't they pour. Now you want to give me love, one TT. I'm expensive, put a price tag on me. It's impressive that you think you could afford me. Baby, you adore me, put me in Dior. But if you like, girl, give me the star. Kata kasi me go on with your girl say. Me no one wireless, so grow, baby, come play. Enter the room, make we do what they think say. I don't need reason. Pass me the reason. Pass me the reason. Ellie, don't give me your reason. Like I'm not knocking on your speakers. She call me Afro singer, Niger jigger. She don't go low when the boy no fiesta. She did my phone when the boy no fiesta. So she call me baby.
And that was a clip of Rizza from Uche Malik. If that song doesn't land on your spring summer playlist, you might want to just get out of here now, because that's an absolute jam. I love that song, man. I've been, especially with the warmer weather coming, man, that's a track that will be, I'm sure, heavy in rotation for not only myself but a lot of people. So so I want to talk to you a little bit more about the music you've been doing recently, on top of Rizza and some of the music you had come out last year and before that. But I want to quickly circle back a little bit to your background, because I know you, when you were a kid, you were big into the choir, correct? Is that correct? And was that like your first introduction to music? Was that something that was really influential for you? Talk to me a little bit about that experience you had as being young and like joining or being a part of the choir.
I think being a part of the choir, it was like my first introduction of singing.
Okay.
It was entirely my grandmother's idea. I think everybody in my family was like always somewhat involved in music. I think my biggest influence is my father.
Yeah.
Every single day, this guy is listening to any kind of music. Like all the music I know, all the oldies, is because of him. Okay. Whether it be from like house music, Afrobeat, high life. We have traditional music called bongo, and then ogene. All because of him. All because of him. And I've been listening to it for as long as I can remember. But then obviously I don't remember what age, probably like 5 or 6, I got into church choir. Then ultimately turned into school chorus. But it was a choir that really all it was us singing gospel songs in our native tongue. But it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was crazy, because I'm young and I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
True.
I just know, I got to say it this way. So I remember they used to throw words at us like falsetto, monotone, things of that nature.
Words you're probably using now that you, at the time probably didn't.
At the time, realize, I was like, I'm a what? I'm a soprano what? What's this? I didn't know what was going on. But it always gave me it helped me develop my voice. For sure. Because I know when I came to the U.S. and tried to join for chorus, it's just always funny memory that I remember. Is I remember I was like, yo, you guys know I could sing, right? I remember just telling somebody, and he was like, nah, Uche, you can't sing, bro. What are you talking about? I'm a better singer than you. I said, okay. And then we had to go try out for chorus, and they made us sing Mary Had a Little Lamb. And when I tell you, I sung it like I don't know, like Whitney Houston.
Put a little flavor on that boring ass song.
Exactly. And everybody was just shocked.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, you know what? I really could sing. So since then, I've always had that in me. I think I never really took it seriously until recently, but it was one of those innate abilities that I had.
Interesting. What was was there a huge, I can imagine that there was, but was there a massive difference between what choir was like in a place maybe Nigeria versus how it is in the United States? Is there a huge difference there culturally? Because I feel for me chorus was always something that was never enjoyable. I did not when we had to do it up until I think 6th grade, and it was just making us sing songs like that. It was not, there was nothing that I could relate to or gravitate towards or anything like that. It was just I rejected it completely. You know, it was just very stuffy, I think is like the best word I can use. So was there a huge difference there, or maybe any similarities, or
I don't think there was. I think the biggest difference, it was the theatrics.
okay.
Like there were certain people in choir that it was really that sometimes they think they can sing but they can't sing. and like they would really try to like, you know, be dramatic with it.
Yeah.
Like when I tell you they're trying to hit these whistle notes when they can't do that, it was just like, But I feel like that's fair. It could apply to everybody, but then when I went to church here and like heard choir music here, it was like, okay, this is so much smoother. Like you can kind of tell it's more unison versus like in Nigeria. Not to say that Nigeria doesn't have it, but it was just like, you know, from what I've experienced, it was like, okay.
Interesting.
I know there's like a little joke in the community where it's like, okay, when you go to a Nigerian church, there's always that one choir member that really thinks they can sing, but they cannot. And it's always the choir leader.
That's funny.
So it's like, that was one of the big things that I really noticed.
Huh.
Really.
Interesting. Very cool. And you mentioned too, one of my last questions in just this segment of the objective was obviously your dad's influence on you with his music, and I know that when you started were coming up in the music scene in Boston, you were more of an A&R. You weren't really thinking about being an artist.
Yeah.
And I read somewhere that your father actually was the one that pushed you to really like, you know, be a legitimate artist.
Yeah.
So I first, I guess, is a two-part question. I guess the first would be, you know, I want to hear a little bit about, you know, your experience as an A&R and like where that trend, like what was that spark, like, or was it something your dad said that it was just like, all right, you know, it's time for me to like just try this music thing?
I think for me, I was always in music. So when I say that, like, I literally was either obviously the choir or I was writing music. I was curating playlists. I was DJing. Then I went to A&R. So that I think that journey kind of led me into solidifying to be an artist.
Okay.
Like how it really, really started, obviously besides the choir, it started with playlist curation. I felt like I had a knack of sound. I could hear music and I could definitely tell you what song could come after it, or what song would sound better, or what group of songs would be perfect for this said mood. So somebody told me to just start making playlists, so I did. And this is when I was in high school.
Okay.
And I remember I made a playlist and I just shared it around, and everybody's like, yo, Uche, this is crazy. Like, I didn't know you could do that. I was like, I mean, it's just a playlist. Then it got to the point where people were asking me, like, hey, Uche, do you have a playlist for like studying? Can you make me a playlist for my girlfriend? Can you do this? Can you do that? I was like, okay, cool. Like, I didn't know the terminology was obviously curation, but at the time it was like, okay, if you need a playlist, hit up Uche. And then what happened from there was like, okay, cool. So I know what songs can go together. And I know what songs can sound good after this song. That's what led me into DJing.
Okay.
So one of my good friends, his name was Chisam, basically my brother. And he was DJing because his dad was a DJ. And his dad is my dad's great friend, best friend, if anything. So it was one of those things, it's like, you know, he's my cousin. Like, it just works that way. But I remember he was DJing, and it was at a cookout. And I came up to him, and I just asked a question. I was just like, so how do you do this? He's just like, well, I could show you. And I was like, yeah, like, I'm interested because I know what song to do. Like, I know exactly what song you could play. I remember he was playing one song. I was like, yo, play this song. He played it. Everybody went crazy. I said, all right, bet, play that next song. Play this song. He's like, yo, you could really DJ. I was like, really? I just don't know how to, you know,
turn the tables. No pun intended.
So obviously he taught me how to do that a little bit, and I remember we had like told ourselves, let's just be a duo. So we became a DJ duo.
Cool. We
had another friend of ours. His name is Marvelous, and he would be like the MC. And we had like our first gig, and that gig was the first time I've ever DJ'd for a party, and it went very well. It went extremely well. That's when I was like, you know what? Maybe I have a knack for this.
Yeah.
So from there, it just went from me learning how to DJ, and then instead of me being more so like a party DJ, like being at the party, I said, you know what? Let me make some mixes. So I started making SoundCloud mixes. I have like I don't know how many, like maybe 5-ish.
Oh, wow.
But they started off as like the first one I did was like a Afrobeat hits of like, I don't remember what year was it, 2014, 2013, something like that. And that hit up to like 300K streams on SoundCloud. And that was the first time I've ever seen a comment in anything. And I was like, you know what? If this was like, if this is like did this number, I could do this again. Mind you, at the time, I didn't know anything about promotion and marketing, so it was just the fact that like I hit that number just off of raw like engagement. It was crazy to me. So I started doing this thing where, obviously, if you're from Boston, you get to a taste of every culture, not just African culture, but then we have Caribbean culture. So I said, what if I made a mix that was Afrobeat versus dancehall? Because we all love each sound, and I felt like personally, not a lot of people knew about Afrobeats.
No.
I felt like, even though it's like one of those things at that time, is like if you're from Nigeria, you know about Afrobeats. But I meant like you had to have gone to Nigeria.
I see.
If you knew about Afrobeats and you're from America, it's because like your parents started playing it because they heard it when they went back home. It wasn't that known. Not to say you couldn't hear it every day, but it's like 9 times out of 10, if you went to the club, you would probably hear 1 or 2 Afrobeat songs, and they wouldn't even call it Afrobeat; they would call it reggae.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, cool. Let me set the score. Let me set it straight. This is what Afrobeat is, and then we'll do versus dancehall. So I did 3 volumes, and all of it, each volume went crazy. This is when Twitter just started to be popping.
Yeah.
So I promoted it on Twitter, and everybody just like, yo, Uche's like, this is fire. This is fire. You got to do this again. Yo, I've been using your mix for a party. And I was like, you know what? Again, I definitely had a knack for this. But it came to a point where it was just like, you know what? This is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like this is what I wanted to do. It felt like, you know what? I like doing music. I like, curating. I like, spinning and all that. But it just wasn't what I was really trying to do.
Sure.
So then, obviously, thinking the fact that, okay, I knew what people wanted to hear. I don't even know how I landed. I think one of my friends, his name is Victor. Well, he goes by Uche Boy. This is at the time he was rapping. He sent me a rap song, and I heard it, and I was like, "Yo, this is fire." But I feel like if you change this lyric here, went about it with this flow, I think it'd be better. And he's like, "Oh, you do A&R work?" And I was like, "What's an A&R?"
You're like, I guess I do now.
Exactly. So like, from there, like every time he had questions with the music or needed help with something like that, he'd come to me and he's like, "Yo, you should really look into A&R work." I was like, "I still don't know what an A&R is." And he's like, "Yo, Google it." So that's obviously what I did. I Googled it. I learned it. I was like, "Okay, cool. This sounds like something that I would do." I may not per se be an artist at the time, but at the end of the day, I knew what people wanted to hear. I knew how to go about things. It's just obviously I'm just not the artist, so I can't put those words together. But if you need a flow, melody, I got you. And then I've always had a knack for finding artists or new songs that nobody has heard of. Like one of my good friends, his name is Quazim. He tells me every day, because I used to just, every time I find new music, I send it to him. But one day he was like, "Yo, Uche, the one annoying thing about you, I can never send you music that you've never heard of." Because
awesome.
he literally would send me a song. "Oh, I know about that song. Oh, I've heard that song.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Like literally, it was difficult for people to put me onto music because I already knew about it.
That's crazy.
And the thing about me, at least in music, I used to love doing research. I still do. Mm-hmm. So if I fell in love with this song, I'd research who this artist is, figure out where he signed from, how did he distro the song, how did he promote the song, who's his manager, who's that manager's manager, who's his counterparts, who's his friends. So I ended up being this, A&R. Like I found out all the information about the artist, found out who to connect with, who found out who to network with, to put obviously the artists that I was working with to be in a better position.
Right.
Which also started to move into like management work, but I'm not a manager. But I played that role if needed. And then now we finally get to the point where it's like, okay, I became an artist. At this point now, I think it was 2018, and I'm in Nigeria. Already, I have the A&R work under my belt. I have the curation under my belt. I had the DJ under my belt. It was like me collecting all the Infinity Stones. And then I just remember we were at my uncle's house, and my dad's like, yeah, come, Uche. See, I'm even telling your uncle, like, your uncle said you should go and do music. I said, I mean, I kind of already do. I help people with music. He said, no. Like, you don't think I don't hear you in your room every day? You're listening to beats. Yeah, freestyling. You're doing this. You're doing that. You're singing. You don't know. You're a fine boy. You have a good voice. You should go and actually just go and just make a song. We're here. We can just we can promote it for you. I was like, oh, I didn't really think about it. Like, it was one of those things. Like, yeah, obviously I do freestyle in my room. I do try to write music. I wrote poetry. I wrote spoken word and things of that nature. So it was just, it wasn't like the thought of being an artist wasn't in my head. I just felt like I couldn't be one. I don't know why.
Huh.
But my dad was really just like adamant. It's like, yo, come on. Then my uncle said, yeah, I know a couple people. We can record a video. We can post it there. Can get you on the radio. My auntie now comes in and is like, yeah, you should listen to your uncle. Your dad even knows what he's talking. My mom is not like, it became my parents and my auntie and uncle versus me. And I'm just like, yo, okay.
You're like, all right, fine, I'll do it.
Yeah. And then it was one of those things like, you know what? If they're so, like, there's one thing about my parents. If they believe something is true, they're going to be hard-headed about it. So I'm like, if my parents are really, really like to the point where they're now telling everybody, oh, I'm in my room singing to myself, let me make a song. And that's exactly what I did.
Wow. What was the first song you made? Do you remember?
First Afro song. So I had a couple Afro songs before I released my first single, but they're never gonna see the light of day.
No.
But I think I heard a bunch of beats and I was like, okay, cool. Because at this time I still didn't know how to structure a song.
Okay.
I already knew about a hook and a verse. That's all I really knew. I didn't know about the difference between a hook and a chorus or a bridge or outro or things of that nature. So it was just like, okay, cool. Let me write a verse. And I took it as a hip hop rap approach, where we already know there's a hook, but that the main core is a 16-bar verse. Mm-hmm. So I said, all right, cool. Let me give 16 bars in this random beat. Wasn't that? It just didn't flow. It sounded like me trying to just rap, and then I just threw a beat on. I went from just writing first and then trying to find a beat that made sense.
Okay.
And to me, that's not me. I feel like I can't do that. I mean, I can, but I can't. Back then, I definitely couldn't. Like, I felt like, okay, if I'm going to make this music, it has to be genuine. I'm very big on genuine. And
absolutely, yeah.
And when I make my music, you got to feel it. Like, I felt it because I felt the way I did. That's why the song came out so, like, fire. So,
that's awesome.
One day, again, Uche Boy, he sent me a beat. And he was like, yo, you should try something. I was like, all right, cool. I tried, and it just wasn't working. Just like, nah, it doesn't work. But since it was on YouTube, YouTube comes with like all these recommended beats.
Right.
So I saw one beat that was in the recommendation, so I clicked it, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is fire. This is fire, cool. So I sent it to him. He came back and sent me a hook, and I was like, okay, cool. I like this. This is good. It feels good. And then I put on I'd say like a good 12, maybe 16 bar verse, and it was good. At least to me. And the reason why I say that is because I sent that to a group of my friends. So I sent it to the main person that really like kind of changed the whole way I look at music was my boy Quazim again. One of my brothers, and he always keeps it 100 with me.
Yeah, you need those kind of people.
Yeah, he listened to it. He's like, "Yo, I'm not even gonna lie, that is trash." And I was just like, I gotta see where you're coming from, because me personally is like, if you're gonna tell me my stuff is trash, don't get me wrong. Like, I take criticism very well. I just want you to explain why it's trash.
Why exactly?
Because not only will it teach me, okay, yeah, this is definitely trash, but it'll also tell me like, okay, how I can get better.
Exactly.
So with that being said, I was like, how's it trash? He was like, just doesn't sound good, bro. Like, at the time, he didn't really know how to explain it because now he's actually my main A&R.
Oh wow.
But at the time, he just didn't know how to explain it. He was just like, I don't know how to tell you, bro. It's just trash. Like if I were you, like if you was to sell these lyrics to somebody, like let's say this artist, it'd be fire. But it's just not working. Mm-hmm. And I sat in my dorm because I was in school at the time. I was like, okay. I didn't know how to like take it. But then something told me, it's like, nah, you know what? Nah, because I feel it. A lot, like I said, with me, it's like if I genuinely feel like this song is fire, I know it's going to be fire, and I haven't been wrong. So I said, cool. I went to the studio, and so obviously my friend, Uche Boy, he put down his hook, and then everybody in the studio was like looking at me because this is the first time I've ever been in the studio, and everybody's interested to see like what does Uche have to offer. And I'm just standing there like, okay, this is the microphone, headphones. Okay, I got my lyrics. I can hear myself. Okay, cool. I'm just listening, and then I did the entire verse, like first take. Took off the headphones, and I was like, is that good? And when I tell you, everybody was shocked. They're awesome. Like, what? They're like, you sure this is your first time in the studio? I was like, yeah, as an artist, yeah. I didn't think I did that well, but everybody was just extremely shocked. Like, what the hell? And I was like,
it's got to be a good feeling.
Yeah, exactly. So then we had our other friend, Emmy, put down his verse, and then I just was so much in the mood. I was like, yo, I have something else. So I just put down like a little outro. And again, even that outro was like, yo, bro, what is going on? Like, this is crazy.
He's in his bag right now.
Exactly. So yeah, that was a creation of my first single.
Wow.
Well, it was a combined single, but it was one of the first songs I've ever made. And I think since then, everything's just been elevated.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's well. First off, that's just amazing story, just like from the progression of all that. And it's really, I think for you, there were three, like, I think obviously massive moments there for you that happened that, you know, really, and it's funny how, I mean, a handful of moments can sort of push you to that next stage of that progression of, you know, obviously where you are now. And it's really funny. We have a lot in common, more in common than you think. The only thing we don't have in common is I am not musically inclined. I cannot sing. I'm sure if I went in the studio right now, either John or Melks or, you know, Andre, someone would throw me out. I would not be. That is not my thing. I can't sing, but I was the same as you when I was in high school and college, where I would like go home on a Friday night, and instead of like hanging out with people, I'd just be like downloading music, listening to music, and just like being wicked nerdy with this shit. And like just and doing that research, right? And like, you know, trying to find songs that no one knew. And I prided myself on that all the time. And it became a point where people would be same thing, reach out to me. They'd be like, hey, like, what are you listening to right now? And it became one of those things where I was like, all right, like, you know, John, I know John likes this, so I'm going to send this type of stuff to John. And then, like, you know, Jack likes this, and, you know, Emily likes it, you know, whoever it was, right? Like, I started to, like, understand people's, like, tastes. And so, like, I might send something to Uche that I wouldn't send to whoever, you know, else, you know what I mean? So it became that, like, and it just was one of those things where I would just do that. Like, people would, and it's funny, like, I still have a couple of friends now, like, my friend Gianna, she'll text me, like, every blue moon, and she's like, hey, like, can you send me new music? And I'm so, like, apt to be like, Gianna, I have, like, a like, I'm a playlist curator now. Just go like my playlist. But but I still do that for her because I know, like, I know her taste. So, like, I'll still send her music. But and then I had, like, again, like, I talked about this with Lucas, I think, a little bit too. I had one of those, like, big iPods with, like, 10,000 songs on it. So, like, when we had, like, parties when I was at in college, or when we were out of college, when we were living in Medford with a few of my friends, like, it would be just kind of this unspoken thing, like, all right, like, Mike's gonna not DJ it, but, like, he's gonna curate the playlist for the party, or curate the playlist for whatever. Like, that just ended up being, like, what I did. And then it's just funny how it has transitioned into what I do now. And it's just, it's really cool that, like, those moments and those things, it's just like, I don't know, I hate to be, like, you know, spiritual and serendipitous with this whole thing, but it's like, it's the universe constantly telling you, like, hey, like, this is like, like, do this. Like, you have a ear or a talent or whatever. And another thing I thought was really interesting about your story too is you hear, I don't think this is all artists, so don't get me twisted, but I think a lot of artists, or not a lot, I don't know what the number would be, but I feel like when people start, it's one of those things they try to tell their parents, like, oh yeah, I want to be like a rapper, I want to be a singer.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where they're kind of like, okay, great, but like,
Yeah.
go to school or like go get a job. You know what I mean? They're like, all right, that's amazing. Like go. So, but for you, it seemed like it was so opposite. Where like, it's not even anything you were thinking about.
Yeah.
Like maybe in the back of your mind, it was there, but like for your family to be like, nah, like you got to do this, Uche. Like pushing you to do it, and then being where you are now. I think that's just obviously a huge testament to them, but also like for your talent that you had it. Yeah. And you just needed somebody to give you just that little bit of confidence or a little bit of that Rizza, just to give you just a little bit. Yeah. Did I use that correctly or no?
Yeah.
I did. Oh, sweet.
Nah, it's always shocking to me because it's like I never realized it till I think about it. Like, damn, my parents were actually like really supportive.
Of course, yeah.
And it's
sounds
strange,
like
in the Nigerian community, like sometimes when we come up with other lines of work besides obviously medicine or law, it's like, what are you doing? And don't get me wrong, my parents were definitely big on like, okay, Uche, like, no, you still have to go to school.
Right.
You have to get your degree. You have to go and get your master's degree. But in the meantime, as a side hustle, you can go and do music. I was like, okay. It's just shocking. And I remember the day like I graduated, my dad was like, so are you going to do music full time now or are you going to go to work full time? I was like, is that a joke? I didn't really want to like answer it.
How am I supposed to answer that? Yeah,
because I'm like, because if I go full time music, will you actually let me go full time music? And then it's like, I feel like now, I think they were dead ass. Like I think they could really, I could go full time music if I really wanted to. And then I was like, all right, fuck it, we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Like
yeah.
I was like, yeah, you know what, I am.
You got to take that leap, right? Like it's one of those things where you don't want to. Like this is the way I see it, and I tell my students this all the time. It's like I would rather, or I tell them, you would rather try something and fall flat on your face and fail than like not like be have some trepidation about it and push it off and then never do it, and then look back when you're 40 and be like, fuck, like I should have tried that. Yeah. Like you don't want to have that regret. You want to at least try to like make sure, what, I gave that a shot. If it doesn't work, great. But, I mean, we're at that point in our lives where like, and especially in this day and age, like, there's a lot of obviously what you would maybe consider traditional jobs out there. Yeah. You can always get a traditional job. And even somebody that has a traditional job, like, again, someone like me who is a teacher, like but I'm still pushing, this sort of passion for podcasting and being, embedded in the Massachusetts music scene, like something I'm really passionate about now and want to do. And like, if it ever became a thing where, I could do this full time, that'd be amazing. But like, I'm not even in that headspace right now. I'm just kind of like, you know what? I'm enjoying it. It's going well. We're just going to see where it takes me. Yeah. And I feel like with that, I'll always be able to look back and say like, I gave this 100%. Yeah. Like I never, I don't have any regrets with how I'm moving with this and trying it. And so I just feel like that's such a huge thing. And I think too, like a lot of our parents, especially like, my parents didn't go to college. Like they, they really, my mother was adopted and, had a tough upbringing. And my father was, first generation, like my grandparents came over here from Italy. So like, it was one of those things where it was just like, they didn't have opportunities that I had. So I think sometimes our parents are like, I didn't have these opportunities. Like you need to go do this. You need to go to school. Yeah. And like, we're in this day and age where I feel like there's so much variety of what you can do. Exactly. Yeah. So it's really cool in that in that sense, So
yeah, like definitely like at the end of the day, music is my passion
for sure.
But I still love, the technical stuff. So I went to school for business. I love business. I'm actually trying to go get my master's in tech.
Oh wow!
And I'm working on like obviously certifications for that.
Yeah.
But because I actually love like tech, I love technology. So it's not like, because I love tech and I'm starting to move towards going back into school. I'm gonna give up music. Like music is my passion. So regardless of what I do, it's always gonna be there. If anything, I feel like everything I do in terms of like let's say school or my day-to-day life is just only gonna fuel the music.
Exactly.
And that's what I try to at least tell a lot of my friends, or maybe other artists, is when they say like, "Oh, why do you still work? Shouldn't you just quit your job and, you know, just rely on your music?" And it's like, I definitely can, but it's like I try to like me. I'm very nerdy when it comes to music. I try to figure out everything I can do to make it better. Again, I'm just collecting the Infinity Stones. I like the fact that I was a DJ, I was a curator, I was an A&R, because that makes my music creation so much easier.
And you know, like you don't have to outsource a lot of that stuff. I mean, I know you said you have an A&R, but like you at least have that knowledge where you can look at, you know, and something else you said I thought was interesting too about like structuring music. But I think nowadays, especially like the classic song structure, I'm not saying it's out the door that nobody does it anymore, but I mean, there is so much variety. I mean, some songs now you hear like minute and a half, 2 minutes, you know, some songs only have like, you know, one hook and then, or don't have a bridge. Like there's so many different ways you can structure a song. Like it's become very, I don't know what the word is, but there's just, I guess maybe similar to like jobs. It's just so much variety now in music and how you can approach it. So it's just for you, like, you know, what works, what type of sounds work, what type of structure works. I think that's something that every artist, I would imagine, goes through at some point in time, and reinvents that over time as well.
Like when it comes to structuring, I feel like having that A&R under that belt it helped me structure my music so much easier because again, it was a classic hook, 16-bar verse, hook, 16-bar verse, hook again. And sometimes that gets repetitive and annoying. I started to think to myself, like, yo, why do I like this specific song so much? And then I realized, because it's not even like that. He came in with a 12-bar verse, gave me a hook, bridge, probably like a small verse and outro. And that is very unconventional, but it worked and it hit. I'm like, okay, cool. Why did I like this song? And I just started to, again, research, like, what's the differences between the two? Why would I do a 12-bar versus a 16? Why would I do no hook versus a hook? Why would I do this and that? And it was like, okay, cool. It makes sense now. Yeah.
And you've naturally done that for even before you were doing, like, I feel like you were saying it's just stuff you were doing already. Yeah. So that's really cool. Awesome, man. Wow. What a great story, man. I'm happy for you. Well, of course, I'm just happy for you and your journey, and that you've kind of got to this point, and that, you know, you should be confident because your music is awesome. You've made a huge fan out of me. It didn't take long. It took about a song and about a half a song or so for me to get into your stuff. So big thanks. Before we get to the main lesson, so that's our next segment, I have a couple questions there that I want to talk to you about. I think it's time for a little pop quiz. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. All right. So on pop quiz, the first question I have for you is, who is your favorite Afrobeat artist?
Wizkid.
Great answer. Do you have a favorite like Nigerian dish for like food?
Rice and stew.
Are there any good Nigerian restaurants in Boston that?
Yeah, there's actually a couple. One of the big ones that I personally like is Obosa.
Okay.
And Rosendale, I think it's on Belgrade Ave. Amazing food. Amazing food.
I will check that out. Maybe you guys want to sponsor this episode. That'd be great. I'm just kidding. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Best piece of advice I've ever received. Musically or just in general?
In general. Doesn't have to be musically.
In general.
Can be.
I feel like in general, it was just worry about yourself. And it could be taken in so many different ways, but the way it was given to me, it was like, I'm so worried about what people think or what people would say about this, or damn, like, I'm worried about just the nonsense in life. And then somebody's just like, yo, have you ever took a chance to really just sit down and worry about yourself? Like, ask yourself, are you okay? Are you hungry? Are you tired? Do you want to cry? Do you want to smile? Do you want to laugh? Like, have you actually worried about yourself? And I feel like we can all say, yeah, but when I heard that, I really sat there. I was like, you know what? You're right. I don't even think I tell myself, like, are you okay? And it was one of those things where it's like, okay, you know what? I will worry about myself. I will ask myself, like, okay, hey, Uche, have you eaten today? Are you okay? Like, how is your mental? You think we can make some music today? It's one of these, like, those personal check-ins that actually helped me a lot.
I really like that. I really like that. Yeah, and I think being just being who you are, I can just tell you're somebody that you care about other people, and yeah, it's when you are, it's same thing with me. Like I'm a teacher, I'm a coach. Like I do a lot of I help a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I completely agree with you. Like it is mandatory. It's the airplane seatbelt analogy, right?
Yeah.
You got to make sure you're taking care of yourself before you then go to like take care of other people too. So no,
Exactly.
it's a great piece of advice, man. Yeah, definitely got something similar. So that's great. I love that. What was it like collaborating with Black Bones and David Melly?
It was interesting. Because these are like household names that I personally would have never expected my name to be with. It was lovely. It was the fact that I know when we got the Black Bones feature, I was just like, wait, Uche Malik and Black Bones? Crazy. And then even with David Melly, like that relationship was lovely because I think I was going through a relationship thing at the time.
Okay.
And David Melly had this one song that really resonated with me. So I just tweeted him out. I was like, yo, bro, we got to collab because this song is really doing me justice. And he's like, all right, bro. And I was like, what the hell? Like, it was that easy? That's what I have to do, just tweet you? And then he DM'd me. He's like, yo, bro, like, let's work. Like, here's my number. And then from there, it just happened.
That's so cool.
So I was just like, wow, okay. This is nice. Like, I didn't.
Yeah.
And then it was like situations like that where I felt like, yo, this is genuinely like cool. Like,
Yeah.
I like collabing with people, but it was just one of those things like, wow, like, he's normal. He's normal like I am. Like, I feel like sometimes when we listen to music by our favorite artists, we feel like they're on a different type of stature, but nah, we're regular people.
It's like we talked about earlier. Like, no matter where you're from or who you are, like, there are certain human emotions that everybody feels, and I would say that there's definitely, I would imagine that there are some artists that kind of get caught up in that, like if they're a major label artist, sometimes they can get caught up in that life. But there are artists, like you said, that are gracious and willing to help and wanting to collaborate and hear people out. I think that's and help some other artists along the way. I think that's that there's hopefully, I hope that there's more of that than the former. But that's really cool, man. Good stuff. Boston or Massachusetts artist that you'd most like to collaborate with that you haven't yet?
I feel like I don't know yet. I'll be genuine. I don't know yet.
Okay.
Because I feel like everybody that is from Massachusetts that I would want to work with, especially with my sound, I feel like I've either started to develop that relationship or I've already done that. I think what I'm more focused on is like who's going to be the next one to really start budding out of Massachusetts. Because again, with the Afro scene, it's not very much known.
Yes.
Same way where I'm an Afro artist from out here, I don't know who else could be there that's not already kind of in that ecosystem.
Fair enough.
So I think one of my main goals is probably to figure out who else is out here that's doing the same thing. Like I know there's some people in like Lynn that are doing Afrobeat.
Okay.
I never knew that. I was like, okay, there's people from Brockton. I was like, I didn't know that. So it's one of those things where it's like, I'm open to it because I want to know more. Like, who else is out here? I want to make sure that we're known. It's kind of sad the fact that I just said I generally don't know because I don't know who else is out here, but I want to make sure that next time that question's asked, I have a clear answer. So I want, whoever is in Mass doing Afrobeat, we need to rise up.
Yeah.
We need to make it known there.
Yeah. If you're an Afrobeat artist, hit up this man. Two more for you. What's your favorite piece of like tech or a favorite like app, or do you have like a specific thing that you're just kind of like in the tech world that you were just enamored with or blown away by?
I think coding. Coding was one thing that I was like, yo, this doesn't make sense, but it looks so cool.
I completely agree.
I was like,
I've said the same thing about coding. I'm like,
yeah.
It's not the way my brain works, unfortunately.
Exactly. And it is kind of just understanding like, yo, literally everything we do comes down to a code. So that was just one of the most interesting things that like I've learned and wanted to learn more about. It's like, okay, cool. Like this whole Twitter app that I'm using or Instagram literally just comes down to a code.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Like that blew me away.
Okay. Final question. This one's gonna be pretty obscure, but hopefully it'll hit something. Do you happen to like the card game Uno by chance? Is that like is that one of your favorite card games? Yeah. Why? What? I'm a huge Uno fan as well. But I'm curious.
Fair, I think Uno is the first card game I ever played it in America.
Oh wow.
So it was and it was interesting, and I love how it gets so competitive so quickly.
I know. I know.
Like I remember the first time I ever played it, I was just looking at everybody like, "Why are you guys getting so mad? Like, what's the problem? Like, why are you?" And then the more I started to understand the game, it was like, okay, now I get it.
Yeah, you guys were having way too much fun in the Rizza music video for Uno. I was looking at this because if my family's watching and listening, or I might just send them this part of the episode. It gets heated in my house with Uno. Like it's one of those things. Like if I got like with my brother Mark, especially like if I'm next to him, like it gets pretty bad. Like if I have a wild draw 4. I'm like waiting for that reverse so I can just smack him with it, or wait until he gets like to
I feel
couple
like you
cards.
have so much power when you have that +4, +2.
It's almost too much power.
Yeah, but even during the Rizza music video, you would think it's just that we're just pretending to play. Like no, we were genuinely.
You were genuinely playing. Oh,
we were
awesome.
genuinely playing, and it was genuinely getting heated.
Well, it didn't seem that way on the music video, so that's why. But I'm glad that it was.
Like it was a real game of Uno, and we were actually. It got to a point where it was like, okay, let's calm down. This is a music video. Let's calm down. Like
it's an intense game.
Yeah, it gets heated to a point, and then it's like when you get that one guy. All right, so put money on it. Then it's a whole different scale. Once money's involved, it's like, all right, cool. Like, let's turn.
Oh, that's funny. Good stuff. Yeah. Well, hopefully any Uno fans out there, I'm sure you can relate to this. But I noticed that very subtle thing in the music video, and I was like, I'm a huge Uno fan. There has to be a reason why it's in the music video.
Yeah.
So, good stuff. Well, you did great. I think you definitely passed pop quiz, so nice job.
Thank you.
Nice job. I know you didn't study too hard, but that's okay. You passed. It's fine. I want to get to the main lesson. I want to talk to you a little bit about obviously Afrobeat music, and of course some of the your full body of work that you dropped last year, almost a calendar year ago, in Jiggy Boy. But I first want to talk to you about Afrobeat. So. Something that really got me into, or I guess what you said something a little earlier was gave me that distinction. I think, ignorantly thought of reggae and Afrobeat sort of as something that was very similar or even the same thing. And it took me actually a TED Talk specifically that I use in class a lot with a bunch of different of my parts of my curriculum, is the Nigerian author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, where she talks about Fela, who was like a huge Afrobeat artist in Nigeria, and I started listening to him just because I didn't know who he was until I watched the TED Talk, and she like mentioned who he was, and talking about like the cool Nollywood scene in Nigeria, that the drawing a lot of influences from Fela, and even American influences like Jay-Z is what she mentioned. And then but recently there's been a really interesting surge over the last couple of years with Afrobeat, like with Wizkid, Burna Boy, just a couple artists there. So in your opinion, do you think Afrobeat's in like a really good place as it is like nationally or in the world, and like what do you think it's going to take maybe to like have it go to that next level, because I feel like it is on the uprise right now, but I'd just love to hear your thoughts on that a little bit.
I mean, obviously from what we've seen with Afrobeats, it's like you said, it's rising, it's crazy. I think what really changed the game was when CKA, Love Wine Tinti, it blew up out of nowhere and it hit the US markets. So the thing with Afrobeats is that it was global. It was big everywhere but the US. And sad to say, sometimes like if it doesn't blow up in the US, it won't always translate.
Right.
Like a lot of people would say like, "Oh, I'm just now hearing about Wizkid. I don't know who that is," but everybody in the entire world knows who Wizkid is.
Exactly.
People the same thing with Burna Boy. So these little achievements we're doing, at least here in America, is what's causing the upgrowth. Essence charting, Even Thames now, who just charted number one.
That's right. Yeah.
Like that's big, because now
huge.
everybody's gonna be like, who are these African people that are taking over our market?
Did Burna Boy chart as well? I thought his album did really, really well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in fact, he has one of those undeniable hits that will literally like have him set for life with Ye. That song is an undeniable hit.
And I find it really interesting that he like worked with people like Chris Martin from Coldplay and like John Bellion, like, and I think that's that's actually a great point, where I feel like maybe that's what it's going to take for our Afrobeat artists to start to collaborate with, you know, artists that are more, I guess, household names in America, which it feels like it shouldn't have to take that, because I feel like the more authentic sound of Afrobeat is, I think it's very intriguing and very interesting. But it sounds like, again, it's starting to really bubble over into the mainstream, and I'm very enamored with sort of that's the rise of that scene as of late, for sure. I think it's been a good thing.
I think we could, like, at the end of the day, we could still do it ourselves, like, as Africans, like, well, at least as Africans, we're always gonna be, I don't want to say the word. Actually, no, I'm prideful. We're always going to be on top. We're always going to be on top. We're always going to excel. So whether they like it or not, we're going to enter the market and we're going to crash it. I think these little collaborations we do with, obviously, like these American artists that they do does help. But at the same time, it's like we could still do it ourselves.
Oh, for sure.
Like with CK, like, he crashed the market by himself. Amaray, she crashed the market by herself. So it's... I think it's one of the things. I think those little features helped give us an ear, but when the music is as good as that, it's undeniable.
Yeah,
it's
undeniable. For sure. No, I think I absolutely agree. I think that's going to be a huge thing for it going forward, and I really hope to see it continue to rise in the way that it is, because it's just I just love this. The sound is just so freaking cool. Like, it's, even when we were playing your song Rizza earlier, like, I know people were, you know, you couldn't see on the screen, but we were like, well, even, I mean, I know you were dancing, but both of us were just like, it's undeniable, man. And I feel like when you performed it live, everyone really came together for it. You know what I mean? And that was like, I think that was really cool. And just to see, you know, people embrace that in the way that it did, was awesome. So I think that it's hopefully only going to rise from here a lot. And obviously I want to talk to you, of course, about your EP, Jiggy Boy, which was obviously a phenomenal listen. You had so many great, you know, David Melly was on that. Is that correct? He was on one of those tracks, and Timmy O, and you had, you know, obviously Lucas did some production amongst some others. So I'm curious from that perspective with the project, now that it's, you know, almost a calendar year that it's been sitting, and you've taken some time to like look back on it and reflect a little bit. You know, what does that project mean to you? Because I know that just obviously we can talk about the sound, of course, being really engaging and just fun to listen to. But I also think lyrically and also just with the content, you got really deep. And I thought that there was, you know, you talked a lot about a couple different things, like mental health being one of them. And you poured a lot of different emotions into it. And I could really tell that your heart and soul was in that project. And it's one of those projects where, for me, even though it's about 17 minutes and some change, it feels longer, but in a really good way to me. But it's also short in the sense of like, it leaves you wanting more. So I think it was a really good balance of that too. So definitely talk to me a little about this project, like how it came to be, and then just like, of course, the reception and how you've reflected on it from, you know, all of the really great press you got from it, and good reception that you did get from it.
It was, I think Jiggy Boy to me was a self-care project.
I like that.
It definitely was something that helped me out personally. And then the reception was just incredible. To this day, it still shocks me. Like, wow, I did that. But really, to come about it, how do I even start? I guess so. This is like beginning of the quarantine, like 2020.
Okay.
Obviously, 2019, I dropped my first ever EP, and the reception I got from there was good for somebody who just started doing music. I was doing numbers, but I wasn't doing like numbers that I'm doing now.
Exactly.
So obviously it was like, all right, cool. So how do I follow up? What do I do now? What do I do next? And then it just one of those. It was just that journey of, okay, like, let's figure it out. Cool. Obviously, we're gonna do an EP, but let's drop a song or two. Let's do this. Let's do that. So this is what I had in mind. I was excited. I'm in the studio. Cool. And quarantine. And
fucked everything up.
Exactly. So obviously with quarantine, I didn't have access to go to a studio, and I think that put me up against the wall because it's like, okay, what do I do now? Mm-hmm. I didn't really know how to.
I feel like a lot of us felt that way about everything. It was it's horrible.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm glad we're out of those weeds. But
I didn't think, like, at the time, I didn't know how to record myself. I didn't know how to do nothing like that nature. Like, obviously, I did know how to record myself, but I didn't know how to record. Like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to even start. Like, looking back at it now, I just feel like I was probably lazy. But at the time, I just felt helpless. So I was just like, cool. And then with quarantine, I feel like we all face these like mental issues where it's like, okay, we're in a world pandemic, everybody's dying, there's bodies flying, like, and I can't leave my house. And again, it was just me going through personal stuff where it's like, all right, cool. Mentally speaking, I am not in the right state of mind to do anything. I know I did drop, I think it was like 2 or 3 singles 2020. And dropping, so like I think one of the singles I dropped was Desire. I did that in Nigeria, actually, because right before the pandemic happened, I just came back from Nigeria. So I did that in Nigeria and I dropped that, cool. And then during that whole summer, it was just like, okay, cool, there's no studio open, how do I make another song? I dropped Desire, I think it was April 20th, and I still have a whole year left. I still have the rest of the year to do something.
Right.
I can't do much because there's no studio. Then this is where one of my good friends, Namdi, It's by New, he's a producer. He came in and basically was just like, yo, bro, you know I have a whole home studio. You could just record here. I was like, word. Okay, cool. I met Namdi right after I dropped my first ever EP. It was weird. He hit me in the DMs and was like, yo, bro, I really loved your song. And this is now like, again, I'm like, people are hitting me up that I don't know, saying like, yo, I heard your project, I really like that. This is still new to me. So I'm just like, yo, who the hell is this guy? I'm not mad at it, but like, yo, like, this is kind of cool. Right. And it's like, yo, bro, like, I'm from Boston, I'm a producer. Like, we should definitely collab. And at the time, I've never collabed with a producer in my life.
Oh, wow.
Like, obviously, the first project was mostly like beats I leased or bought the exclusive of, but I've never really sat down with a producer and said, all right, cool, let's sit down. So this is so new. I was excited. So I met him, and that day, like, it was just, kind of getting introduced to, this is how it really works. This is how a beat is really made. And that was the same day I met one of my good friends, Yusuf or YDA, and also met Lucas. So it was just like, okay, this is new. Like, I didn't know we had other Afro artists in Boston. I didn't know that we had producers in Boston. I didn't know we had people who could play piano. Like, this is this really how music is made? Like, I knew, but I never knew I could experience it so early in the game.
Yeah.
But now, fast forward now, again, it was one of those situations like, all right, bro, like, you do realize I have a studio at home. We can record. It doesn't have to be the beats that I make, but we can record whatever you like. I was like, word. Okay, cool. And then it just went from me just recording multiple songs. And at the time, I was still a brand new artist, so I didn't really have a strong pen, or I didn't really have a strong delivery or things of that nature. So some of those songs weren't above par, but again, it's one of those things like was undeniable. I think the thing about me, no matter what, I have a part in that song. I have a part in my music that is going to be stuck in your head, whether it be the hook or a certain bar. Something about my music will never leave you. So
I can attest to that.
It went from me just kind of realize, like, I took it as practice. It's like, all right, cool. Like, I like the song, but here's a problem. And again, I really love Namdi because he was so hard on me, especially for some. At first, I thought he was just trying to single me out. I was like, bro, why is it every time? But like, it was like, nah, because he truly believed in me. And he was just like, bro, like, I'm going to tell you, like, yo, your pen is not strong here. You got to have a stronger pen. No, your delivery is not stronger. Take 30 takes And again, at the time, it was just like, what is this for? But looking back at it, or even further down that path, I was like, okay, this makes sense. Cool. And then from there, it just went from me just now giving out features. But then throughout the whole process, it was like, again, with features, it's a bit different because I don't have to do a certain part. I could do just a hook and that's it. But now it's like, okay, now that I'm working with this person, that person, all together in a room, I have to create something that's going to resonate with everybody and be fire. How do I do that? Okay, cool, done. Now, if I want a feature, because I got a feature from my boy Yusuf, we did For the Night. It was one of the things that I personally like because it was a campaign song, in my opinion. I donated all the money made from that song straight to organizations in Nigeria that helped with like COVID relief and then other things. So it was one of those things. It's like, all right, cool. This is a song with purpose.
Makes it feel bigger than it.
Exactly.
Like bigger purpose than just the music. That's awesome. I love
But the
that.
way I wanted to go about it, this is when I started to learn, okay, there's things called mixing and mastering. Obviously, I knew what that was, but I didn't know what that was.
Exactly.
So I remember one day we went to the studio, we recorded it, and Yusuf was like, yo, the mix is fire, but the master, it could be better. I was like, what's the master? And he's like, yeah, you don't know what the master is, bro? I was like, nah. I was like, but your last project was mastered great. I was like, really? I was just shocked. To me. Yeah, but like, I mean, ultimately, the first project, it was mastered. I just didn't know. I just didn't know it. I didn't know what a master was. I thought the master was the same thing as mixing. Okay. So then, obviously, he explained to me that whole process. And now with me, again, I'm a nerd. So once I learned these new terminologies, I went and Googled the hell out of it. I went and researched the hell out of it. What is mixing? What is mastering? Learned about different ways of mixing. And then I was like, all right, cool. Let's redo this song. So we redid it. I got it mixed and mastered. And this is now a different sound of Uche because Uche now learned more stuff from his research, from his trial and error. And at this point, now we're towards like the end of 2020. And this is when I was like, okay, you know what? I think I'm ready for a project. I'm going to sit this year out, which was, I'm going to sit 2020 out. I'm not going to drop any other music. I feel like in order for me to really make an impact, I have to get myself straight. So the end of 2020, I was obviously going through a lot of stuff, again, personally, where it really affected my mental. So I couldn't make music. Like, I genuinely could not make music. But then it went from, I used that to just research. I said, if I can't make music, I'm just going to research. Okay. So what I did, again, with Namdi, he would just tell me, yo, pull up to the studio. I have people coming in to make a song, or I'm going to be producing. You could just sit there. And from there, I literally just started networking. Like, I met all those people that were in the studio, just talked to them, got their point of view of how they make music, saw how they made music. I literally was just a student. I just sat there. I remember people kept saying, like, yo, Uche, you're always in the studio. Like, where's the new music? And I was like, bro, I'm not in the studio. Like, I'm genuinely just using my time to relearn things. I felt like it was needed. So I learned.
You do need those moments sometimes to just take a step back and just observe.
Exactly.
1,000%.
I think one of the frustrating things for me was, again, because my main thing was the pen. I was like, yo, how do I push my pen? You guys keep saying work on your pen. How do you physically work on your lyric? Like, I don't know how to do that. Do I have to read a dictionary? Do I have to read more books? Like, I don't know. And I think that just comes in with the experience and then just feeling it. I think that's the best I can really say. It really just came with the experience. And me just being in the studio, seeing how people wrote music, it was like, okay, he does like this. Oh, he could freestyle this whole thing. Oh, he could do that. Yeah. Just watching how people do it, watching how they used to hit certain pockets, watching how it would be like just when we're creating the beat, it's just one instrument, and they already have a hook, and then we start to build the song around that hook. But I'm like, how did you get the hook when all we hear is do, 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 do? I was like, that doesn't make sense. But then again, it was just one of those things where I just started researching. Then I would hear in conversations things of like, distribution or marketing or promotion, 4-week plan, these certain words. And I'm like, okay, wrote it down, like distribution, 4-week plan, marketing. Just ask simple questions like, what do you mean by like 4-week plan? Oh, okay. So like within 4 weeks, I just have to have a plan. Okay, cool. I mean, that sounds normal. And then I started to figure out how it can connect to what I was studying. So I went to school for business management with the core in finance and marketing. So with the marketing aspect, I was like, yo, this is literally the same thing I'm learning in school. I was like, okay, let me combine the two. And then it just started to click. So like, all right, cool. If I'm going to do music, I have to have a legitimate plan. Before how I was doing music, it was one of those things where it's like, all right, cool, the song's done, drop it.
But now there's a strategy involved.
Exactly.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a strategy, and there's a structure. And I was like, okay, cool. Now that I understand the structure, how do I make it mine? And again, it went from me just networking and just figuring out what people did. It was just that research. And then I started to watch a lot of interviews, a lot of documentaries, a lot of just random videos on YouTube. I think one of the most memorable ones was it was a Dunsi, the engine. He had an interview with Selection Radio.
Okay.
And he just talked about this new sound called Alte, or an Afrofusion. And I've
heard that term before.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, this sounds like something I do. Like Alte really is just like it's the alternative. It's alternative Afrobeat. Afrofusion, I guess it's everything is under just a big umbrella, so it's either like called Alte or Afrofusion, but it's just a lot. So we just put it under this umbrella. Sometimes I don't even like to use those terms because some songs aren't Alte, some songs aren't Afrofusion, but either way, it was like, generally speaking, it's like you can do any kind of genre you want. You just have to put that Afro flavor into it. I was like, yeah, that's me, because at the end of the day, like, I like Afro. I'm very much Nigerian. I do I'm Nigerian to the core. But sometimes I just want to like pretend like I'm a rapper, or pretend like I'm an R&B singer, or pretend like I'm a rock star. I don't have to pretend, but you know what I mean? Like, it was one of those like, no. It was like, okay, cool. I want to be a rapper, but how do I put Afro in it? It's like, but you can't be a rapper if you want to put Afro on it. It's like, no, but I'm gonna be a rapper. But no. Okay, all right, cool. I'm gonna do pop music. Okay, you could do pop, but how do we put Afro in it? It's like, you can't do that. So it was just me trying to figure out, okay, how do I make the sound that I'm yearning for? And then hearing that and watching that interview was like, okay, I understand it now. This is what I'm looking for. I call myself an Afro artist because everything I do is Afro. Whether I do R&B, whether I do rap, hip hop, country, rock, whatever I get into, you're gonna know there's Afro in it. So I call myself an Afro artist, and that interview kind of just opened the doors. Like, okay, cool. Now I know how to go about things. Like now it makes sense. Now there's people like me, and then from there again, it was just watching more interviews, watching more funny video. It was funny videos. It was like it was a video where it's like, okay, you have to make a beat in 30 seconds. And one of my favorite artists is actually, it was Adunsi again. He had to make a beat in 30 seconds. And it was meant to be funny, but it's just the way that he structured everything and did everything. It was like, you know what? This is interesting. I feel like I can use this. I feel like I can do this.
Right.
And that's what helped me mold into my sound. And now I told myself I'm officially in EP mode. So boom. I told Namdi, all right, bro, let's get to it. It's like, how do I do this? What's the word? Like, what do I do? Namdi's like, okay. It's like, do you have a song idea? Do you have a beat? I was like, no, I do not. So he's like, all right, cool. You know what? Again, we're going back to watching people. But now Namdi started to open up a studio called Studio 34, where obviously he was the head producer, but then there was Lucas and Chris Kennedy. So I think I worked with Lucas. Obviously, it wasn't one of those things where like I was always working with Lucas, but there was a time where I was working with Namdi. Lucas would pull up, and I talked to Lucas, and I found out who he was. Cool. So he was still there, but I haven't really officially worked with him. I think I worked with Chris Kennedy one time, and we produced a beat. It was cool, and then I put down some vocals, and it was like, okay, cool. This is kind of where I'm getting at. But I think the way that it was done, I was like, I feel like I need a different viewpoint on this. And then I think Lucas, he might have reproduced a beat for somebody. And I heard this, I'm like, wait, Lucas, you can produce? I thought you could just, play the keys. I was confused. I was like, wait, I thought you just mix and mastered and play the keys. And then I think one day I just hit up Lucas. Is like, yo, bro, like, I don't know if you remember me. My name is Uche, but let's work. Like, I genuinely want to, like, do something. Maybe you can mix and master something for me, but I genuinely want to do something. I don't know why, but I felt like I should just hit you up today. And that's what happened. I think he sent me a beat one time that he found for me to him to do like a feature type of thing. And I think I wrote something to it, but we just never got to it because COVID. And then now we're like early 2021. He told me to come over. So cool. And we were like, let's try to do something. Let's try to make a song. Because obviously Lucas isn't Nigerian. He's white. Let's just put that out there. He's white. So it's like, it was like, okay, how do we work? Like, how is this going to happen? So I sent him a couple songs like, well, these are some of the few songs that I've been listening to recently that have resonated with me. Like, usually when I make music, it's because something resonated with me, whether it be a song or a legitimate instrument or a melody. Like, this is what resonated to me. And the thing with Lucas, he's crazy because he just heard the song once. It's like, okay. And he started creating this melody. And I'm like, bro, how did you do that so fast? Like, to me, Lucas is a beast because he can adapt to anything and he can absorb anything immediately.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, this is scary. So we made up this one melody. And then I just kept saying, oh, you want to stress me out? Why you gonna vex me out? The reason why I was saying that is because, I was going through something with a girl. And I just kept asking, like, why do I feel so stressed? And then the more I kept saying it, he just kept building around it. He just said, yo, keep saying that. So for like 30 minutes, I just kept saying it. And he was just building around it to a point where we got to a solid template for a beat. And I was like, yo, did we just do that? And I was so into it. I was so into it. I said,
we just become best friends.
Yeah. I was so into it. I finished the hook, put on the verse, and now it's like, cool, how do we continue to build around it? Because it's not a conventional Afrobeat. Again, this is now becoming Afro fusion. So I'm just like, how do I even explain what else would I want? I didn't know how to really mold it, but somehow, someway we found a way, and then we created the song Ebu, which was the leading single off of Jiggy Boy. And at this point, it was like, all right, cool. We can do this. And I've built that comfortability and relationship with Lucas to a point where it's like, okay, I definitely know if I go to him or if we work with each other, we'll do something great. And from there, we started to create Ebu. I think Joppa was David Melly production.
Yep.
So obviously that, we still work together on that one, but it wasn't like a produced beat. I think I outsourced another beat with Playboy with, he's actually my boy's friend. His name is Lee. And it was so weird because I pulled up to his house with my boy Yusuf, or YDA, because YDA had a song he was going to do with him anyway. And then he was just surfing through beats, and I was like, I heard this one beat. I was like, nah, play that again? And it was just a very R&B-esque beat. And I was like, this would be crazy if we put Afro beats on it. Like, just drums, just put some Afro drums. I think it'll work. And mind you, he's never done Afro. Well, he has, but he hasn't done Afro. And he's like, are you sure? I was like, yeah. So Yusuf's like, I hear it too. Hold on. And he did a beat on his phone, recorded it, and sent it to him. And I was like, no, let's do it like this. I did the same thing. And next thing I know, a couple days later, the guy sends me the beat. And it's like, oh, this is nice. And the only thing that I could feel from it was the word Playboy, which is the outro on Jiggy Boy. And again, with me, it's like, when I make songs, it's because something resonated with me.
Right.
So the word Playboy was just stuck in my head. How would I do Playboy? I feel like I didn't want to be the conventional, like, oh, I'm a Playboy, I have this. I feel like it should be more, more personal.
Yeah.
So that's where Playboy came into the play.
Sweet.
But again, it was just like, I think going back to Lucas, it was like, all right, I'm always recording with Lucas for this and that. We were finishing up songs. And I think at this point, we have Playboy, Joppa, and Ebu. Joppa's a song with David Melly. But we only had 3 songs. The only song that was actually completed was Ebu. But I think the thing about me was like, okay, I could start the song, but something kept stopping me from finishing it. And I think that just goes off of like the mental stuff that I was going through. But when I was able to finish it, I could finish it.
Right.
And at this point, it was like, okay, now I have 3 songs basically done or have started. This is kind of looking like an EP. Now let me seriously do this EP. Started to ask questions like, okay, how many songs do I even want on this damn thing? I didn't know how many songs an EP truly was. Obviously I did, but I didn't know like how many I really wanted. I think my first project was like 5 songs. And I told myself, well, I got to do at least minimum 5. But I don't think I want to do 7. I think that's too much. So 6 was the lucky number. But I told myself, you know what, let's do 5. So I had 3 done, and I was like, all right, let's create 2 more. Coming with 2 more songs was difficult because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do.
Right.
And then, so one day, I think Quazim brought one of his friends to Boston to work with Lucas, because at this point I was telling everybody, yo, if you want a great song, go to Lucas. If you want to do something, go to Lucas. So they came to Boston because they're actually from New York. They came to Boston to come work with Lucas, and I was at their Airbnb, and we were just messing around on Logic, and we were just using the template, the stock instruments, and it just sounded so, I don't know what happened or why, but this instrument sounded so good. What really got to me was the kick. And I just kept saying, like, I could show you how it goes down in the city. And then I just kept saying it over and over till I was in a trance. Like, I've noticed sometimes if I make music, I end up in a trance because I'm just so focused on trying to piece things together. And I was just in a trance to a point where I started saying, I could show you how it goes down in the city. Oh, worry, boy, so you know it stay jiggy. You want smoke thing, you can come and get it. Until the point it was just like, okay, I'm building into it. And now I'm imagining like where I would be when I make this song. Like when I make music, I think of I actually visually see it. So I was like, okay, cool. This is nice. This is nice. Let me start recording it. I've recorded on a voice note, blah, blah, blah. And then I sent it to Lucas. I was like, yo, I don't know how the hell we're going to do this, but I messed around and made this thing on Logic. We got to recreate it. I don't know how, I don't know way, but I just have a good feeling about it. So me and Lucas, we sat down. We were both like just on Ableton, just trying to figure out how to recreate this random beat we made. And once at least we got the structure down, it was easy. The verse came like that, hook came in like that, and this wasn't new to me, but it was like, yo, I'm really focused. Like it's really coming to me like that. And then now the second verse came in, and then I already knew how to do the outro. And it was one of the beats was like, yo, this is like one of the first beats that I actually co-produced. And I was like, yo, this is crazy. I did this? And it hit me mind you, it was just so random. It wasn't like one of those songs where I had intention to make. It just happened randomly. And I was like, okay, cool. Now we're at 4 songs. But I was like, this is crazy. Wait, is that 4 songs? Yeah, that is 4 songs. So now, a little rewind. There was a guy that I worked with. Well, not a guy, but he was an artist in Boston. His name is Way Up Rui. Amazing artist. He's an artist and he's a producer. So obviously at the time I was willing to work with everybody and anybody. And he sent me a beat pack. One of the beats we actually used for the night. But there was another beat that was really smooth. And I genuinely didn't know how to get on it. But I really, really liked it. And at this time, the same time where I'm just now networking and talking to all these artists, I met Timmy O. Well, I didn't meet him yet. But like, I followed him. And I think because he had a relationship with Lucas is because I also had a relationship with him. I was like, yo, bro, we should definitely work. And funny story is like, I knew about Timmy before I even knew about Timmy. Because he was popping on SoundCloud. And like I said, I'm always finding new music. I was listening to Timmy before I even met him. The same thing with YDA. I was listening to YDA before I met him.
That's so cool.
So now I'm just like putting pieces together. I was like, wait a minute. Oh, you're the same Timmy from this song. I was like, oh shit, like that's crazy. So I sent him the beat, And immediately he sent me a hook. And it's like, shawty, it's a million degrees. Move a little slow, take a moment just to breathe. Stock been going like trees. Green never lasts, but I believe. I was like, whoa, this is smooth.
One of my favorite songs on the project.
Yeah,
Man.
thank you. It was like,
yeah.
I was like, wow. I've never, again, this is one of those, this is Afrobeat, but he came at it with a rapper approach.
Right. And
I was like, see, this is the type of thing I'm trying to do. I told you guys I could rap on Afro. Like, it was like, it's like, see, but it was so smooth to me. I'm like, all right, cool. I think hearing him get on it in that way also enabled me to get on it as at a rapper approach. Mm-hmm. I was like, you know what? Yeah, this is doable. This is doable. Man, I like this.
That's great.
It was one of those things that's like, yo, this is undeniable. Now, the process of Function, it was so lengthy because, like I said, I had it from 2020, early 2020. So I think I wrote a verse for it, and I was gonna have another person get on it. But then I wasn't too sure. I was like, you know what? Let me just have Timmy put a verse. But then I was like, you know what? Actually, no. I could get the other person to get on it. But then I was like, wait, no, Timmy, you have to redo it. But then it was just like back and forth. So I was like, you know what? Cool. I'm gonna send it to one of my good friends, Uche. Uche's an amazing artist. And I was like, Uche, he's a beast. He's scary. Like. He was at 10 years old. He was a better rapper. He was a better rapper than a lot of my favorite rappers. And to this day, I think he's genuinely going to be the biggest rapper in the entire game. And he will get a Grammy. I don't know before me, but he'll definitely get a Grammy. And I just truly believed in him. I was like, you know what, we have to work because I've known you for so long. I feel like I've worked with everybody in our ecosystem, but I've never like generally just sat down like, yo, let's get a song. So I sent it to him. And I remember I kept bugging Etche, like, yo, you did a feature yet, bro? You did a feature? Because he was taking some time. But again, this is during quarantine, so having access to the studio was very difficult. And then one day, I just remember I was in my car. Etche sent me a video, and it was his verse. And I'm just sitting here, like, listening to him, like, oh, my God. Why did you do that? Like, this is my song, bro. This isn't your song. Why'd you have to do that? And then it got to a point where like I even contemplated about redoing my verse. It's like, nah, there's no way you just did that, bro. I felt disrespected. It was like, this is crazy. But I was so hyped because like, yo, Function's about to be done. And then I told myself, you know what? I don't think he did better than me. Or in terms of like he washed me. I'm like, no, hold on. I feel like I can hold my own. I just have to come at it in a way where I deliver it properly. So at this time, it was like I had an amazing delivery, but now because it's a rapper approach, I didn't really rap like that. Obviously, I'm a singer. So I just had to make sure my delivery was on point, and it took like time of re-recording and just a bunch of takes to really get that through. So one day, I think we locked in with Lucas. It was me and Etche because we already had Timmy's stuff. And we re-recorded Function.
It's dope,
and it felt good.
It sounds like the whole project itself was just really organic. So yeah, I think that I mean, guys, seriously, like you got to hear this project if you haven't checked it out. Jiggy Boy, it's a phenomenal body of work, man. Seriously, we are running a little out of time, so but I do want to obviously give you just a moment as well to plug away at like your socials where people can find you and if in any upcoming projects you have. So the floor is yours to plug away to. Of course, you are officially a Turntable Teachers alumni. So thank you so much for being here, man. This was a lot of fun. This was a phenomenal episode. It was great to hear about your background and just like your story, and then of course talk to you about the music and that you're making. And I think you are just destined for like unbelievable things in this scene, man. You're somebody that I'm really happy that I got to get to know as just musically and now personally. So keep going, man. For real, you are doing some amazing things.
Thank you.
And the project's awesome. So make sure you guys go stream it. We are going to link it below. But Uche, tell people where they can find you.
You can find me anywhere and everywhere. Uche Malik, social medias, Instagram, Twitter, all of that. So Uche Malik. In terms of something new, obviously, at this point, we all know I'm dropping an EP. TBA, but there is a new EP on the works.
Let's do it. That's awesome. I love that. We're gonna definitely be plugging that in, and definitely, I'm sure I'll write about it, or definitely it'll make its way onto the playlist for sure, man. And if you are a fan of Uche, just coming on to us for the first time, you can follow us at Turntable Teachers on Instagram, Spotify, and then of course subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Whether you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, or find us on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts, and also hit up our website www.turntableteachers.com for all the latest blogs, episodes. You guys know the deal. And once again, Uche, thank you so much for being here, man. This was a great episode, and I can't wait to keep following your story, and we'll have you back again, sometime very soon, I hope.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Good stuff, man. Well, as always, guys, I'm Mike. This is Uche with the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially dismissed. Turntable Teachers.